This week we are reviewing The Bride, Maggie Gyllenhaal's reimagining of the Bride of Frankenstein story. Is it a Frankensteinian mess or more than the sum of its parts? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to Middle Age Geeks. I'm one of your hosts, Daz. That is Phil, and this week we're reviewing The Bride, Maggie Gyllenhaal's new movie, which stars Jessie, Buckley, Christian Bale, Annette Bening, Peter Sarsgaard, and Penelope Cruz. And the story follows Frankenstein's monster, played by Christian Bale, who's been wandering the world for a century and is lonely and desperate for a connection. So he asks a mad scientist, played by Annette Bening, to resurrect a woman and create a bride for him. And the bride is played by Jessie Buckley, who wakes up confused, unsure who she is and unsure of this monster claiming her. And before we get into the weeds in this, let's get your initial thoughts then. What do you think about this one coming out?
There could have been a great movie here for how well it looks and how good it's performed. Like Jessie Buckley is just incredible and everything. I just absolutely in love with her. I think she's phenomenal. But yeah, this was a letdown for me, man. I was really looking forward to this. I love the look of it, but I think being a Frankenstein movie is so apt because it is just this hodgepodge of different parts. There's directions that are taken that they just don't go down, like interesting directions that she just doesn't explore. And yeah, it's taken inspiration from a lot from The Bride of Frankenstein, the one from the 30s, but it's also added in a whole mad old new layer of things. And it's, I don't know, I'd say, so I heard someone else mention some of the musical numbers. It almost has this Cats vibe to it, the fucking James Corden Cats thing. And like, it's kind of hard to argue when you see some of that stuff in here. And it's such a shame because I think like artistically, I really, really like how this looks. I love that kind of, that spill up the side of her face. Brilliant. And yeah, like I love some of the sets and the scenery is gorgeous, because we're set here about the 1930s. So it's, all the old cars, the music, the outfits, everything was just like, there's so much interesting stuff that you could have done here. And obviously has a great eye for, for the style that you wanted to do it in. It just doesn't come off for me, man. I'm quite disappointed. What about yourself?
Oh, echoing your sentiments completely. Like I was so excited for this one. Like the trailer, I only just watched the trailer again before we came on. And the trailer is fucking fantastic. Like it has a clear, like there's inspiration from Bonnie and Clyde and got a Sid and Nancy. And it was easily in my kind of top 5 anticipated movies for the year. And it's a fucking hot mess. It's unbelievable. Like, as you said, there's a really compelling movie inside the whole premise, but the film just throws so many ideas at the wall to see what kind of sticks. It's like it's a tragedy, it's a comedy, it's satire, it's like it's a psychological look at like the woman finding her identity again, and then there's winking homages to like previous movies. Mary Shelley herself, is it a crime caper at times? As you said, it's a musical, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? But like from an acting point of view, like Jessie Buckley she's phenomenal. She throws herself headfirst into this, and it's brilliant. But some of the choices regarding her character, especially early on, it's great for her acting prowess and showcasing her strengths, but it was kind of incoherent from my point of view. Christian Bale is great, and visually it's a really well made movie. It looks fantastic, but the screenplay is just kind of overstuffed with stuff, and it just goes down avenues that detract from the central story, which was the most interesting part of it. The emotional core of the story just kind of gets lost as you go on, and once detectives get thrown random, just out of nowhere, come into the story, and it just derails into, it's just a fucking mess. And it's ambitious and messy, and it was kind of engrossing at times, but it's so frustrating at other times. Like I couldn't get over it. And there's glimpses of brilliance here when Buckley and Bale are on screen together. It's just kind of a mess. It was interesting at times. It's watchable, but ultimately like an absolute bitter disappointment for me. Like I couldn't get over how much I was just perplexed just watching it, just going, wow, why are you doing this? How has this got so messy?
To echo as well before we move on, like the stuff that been done, not just previous Frankenstein movies, if it does feel like stuff in here is taken directly from movies that have only been out over the last few years, like Poor Things is one, and even the Joker a little bit as well, so it's kind of, it's a bummer. I think, I was also totally taken in by the trailer, which I thought was phenomenal, and I love the actors that are in this. So
let's stick down with, let's get into what works first. I mean, what works for you, and we'll start with kind of the actors and stuff.
Yeah, the performances, obviously, we've said Jessie Buckley. I think that it's slightly different from. I know I only saw the 30s movie once, way back. I think I watched. I think with Daryl, might have watched it with him. I think. But the whole thing at the start, it's at the very start of that. I think in that movie they have like Mary Shelley, and she's talking about kind of meta as well. She's kind of talking about the Frankenstein book and what the story she was trying to get across of people playing God and blah blah blah, and then. But the story had more to tell, and she goes off then, and we have our story. Whereas in this one, there's a different kind of take on it. Now, obviously, it's the same as the original is the same actor playing both Mary Shelley and the bride, but it's a really strange take. In this one, it's almost like
it's possessed.
They've gone that way with it. And some parts in this, I'm like. And again, there's even more of this as we'll get into maybe when we get to the spoiler section, as in more supernatural stuff. As if you're trying to make what's already quite an interesting story, you don't need this extra things that you're adding into it. But yeah, like I thought the performances for the most part were great. I loved seeing Jake Gyllenhaal dancing and singing. I thought that was great. Yeah, really, really great. That was just a lot of fun. He doesning really have much to do in the movie. He's kind of but I really enjoyed that. I thought Christian Bale and thing are great, but I don't know about you, but I didn't really find any chemistry between the two of them, which is considering that's what the main fucking story is about. I didn't really find any chemistry between them, and it's like they don't know what kind of relationship they want them to be. Like, is he this really, really well-spoken and soft-spoken, Frankenstein's monster who's lived for 100, or is he this fucking drinking, boozing, shouting, lying, violent things? And it doesn't really. I don't know. I didn't really feel the connection between the two of them myself.
Yeah, that's one of my main issues with it. Was when, like, obviously when their relationship starts, she doesn't really know too much about what's going on. She's amnesia and all this, and it kind of works that way. But then the story and the love story progresses to a point where in the third act where she tells somebody that I love him, and I was like, I seem to have missed something in the middle where you see the progression of the development of their love. And like, I know there's a moment where he saves her from being sexually assaulted, and is that the kind of catalyst for the next stage of the relationship? But this just doesn't join together narratively and performance wise. They never really had that chemistry. There's a couple of scenes where they act kind of well together in the scenes because they're just fucking brilliant, but you never really believe you believe that he just loves her because he's just, from an acting point of view, he's just glaring at her, and it's just like he's enamored with her. Yeah, you just don't buy the love story, which is fucking wild to say but that's the emotional core of the movie, is where it's kind of double-handed thing. It's that emotional core is the story and the love story between them, and also then Jessie Buckley and the bride, her kind of I guess female empowerment, or kind of reclaiming her identity, and and both of them kind of miss because I think the movie's just overstuffed and just loses sight of what the kind of point was for the audience to really get invested in it. That just got fucking lost. But it's a testament to the two of those actors that they're incredibly watchable individually and together. Just the chemistry was lacking. But Jessie Buckley, Christian Bale is fantastic, and he's always fantastic. Gives a very kind of soft and tender kind of take on this than the monster. But Jessie Buckley she's like a generational fucking talent. Like, tour de force is the word. It's always overused, but here that's just so fitting. But that's the thing, that whole possession thing, which it's not a spoiler. It's straight away, it's the first fucking 1 minute, the first minute of the movie where she's just possessed. And I just thought that's such a big swing that was a complete miss for me. I thought that was completely pointless. Obviously, they're trying to tie something back to the original movie that was very progressive in that terms of being so meta, as you were saying. But that just made her kind of ramblings incoherent, and I didn't really know what the fuck was going on, which it's impressive from an acting point of view, because Jessie Buckley is playing it's multiple or double personalities and different voices and accents, and it's an incredible acting feat. But it just took away from what the fuck was going on. I just don't think it's necessary. I think you could have a more simplified just tragic tale of her being reanimated against her will, and then going on that story from there. Because I know the possession stuff kind of peters out a little bit, but when it comes back into the story at certain times, it's like, oh, fuck off, like stop that. I just wrecking my head.
I agree. What about the other? Because obviously we could harp on about Jessie Buckley, but what about the detective duo? Because this is Penelope Cruz and
Peter Sarsgaard.
Yeah, because I just felt almost like Penelope Cruz is great, because I haven't seen her in anything in ages, so it was obviously great to see her. But I felt like her character was taken out of a Wes Anderson movie. Like, are you in the right film here? Because that's what it felt like. He's the quirkiness and everything of her, and it's like this character doesn't fit in here at all. But I could be wrong, but I don't really see the point of them, like of their characters, or the background between the two of them. We don't really get a massive amount of that. I don't know. Again, they're both wonderful actors. I really think so. But I just wasn't sure what the crack was with them. Like, they didn't play a big enough part in the movie for it to matter,
It completely stalls the movie. It adds another negative into the movie where you're kind of, it's a bit incoherent and a bit of a mess, kind of structurally up to that point. But you're kind of engaged enough to, you want to see where the story is going. And then when they're introduced, it just stalls completely. And it just, like, I was in an empty fucking cinema, and talk about that later, as this movie's making no money. But when they're introduced, I was just like, what the fuck are they doing on screen? Like, I know they have to be there because they're going down the Bonnie and Clyde kind of route and stuff, and they need that police or detective angle, somebody's trying to catch them. But it's so misguided and misjudged, the level of engagement or the level of the audience giving a shit about these characters. Like, you're just supposed to believe their relationship. You're just like, I don't care about you at all. Like, at one point, Peter Sarsgaard does like a fucking an explain-a-thon to explain his history with Jessie Buckley, and then just starts kind of crying, and because he's a corrupt detective or something. I'm just like, oh my God, I couldn't give a shit. Like, let's get back to the fucking characters. Yeah. What's this? I don't care.
If you really wanted them to, that's exactly it. Like, really, why not have him at that very kind of start sequence, where
have them in the movie.
Have them at the very start, and just show his background with them, show how she's caught up and all the rest of it. And that's how, and again, that would be very similar to Poor Things, but having that kind of background already set up. But like you said, we get introduced to them, and we're like, well, who do we care? Are they just two random detectives? What's the big deal? Yeah. And then later on, we find out the connection is like, but like, I already didn't care. They weren't really adding into the story. So giving me late information now isn't going to make me retroactively make them matter to the story. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just, from a screenplay point of view, it was kind of overstuffed with ideas rather than overstuffed with characters. But even it's just when the detectives come in, it just started to derail it even more, because I was looking forward to the whole kind of Bonnie and Clyde aspect to it, where they, they're on the run and they kill people, accidentally at times. And there's even a point in the movie where it's this kind of newspaper thing spin into frame, just like, and it's shown that they're getting a following and all this stuff, and you see people dressing up as them and so on. I'm just like, how did that fucking happen? Like, where did that happen? That's, again, not warranted at all. But yeah, that was a point where just like, how do we get to here? It just kept feeling like they're just shoehorning in kind of pivotal moments in the narrative, just like, oh, now this is going to happen. Now they have a following in this, and it's just like, it felt like it was just missing scenes here. Just like, how did this happen? Why is that happening? Why are people suddenly just dressing up like them and murdering people based on their love for it just...
Yeah, they call it brain attack.
So messy.
And I was like, they tried to brain it, which, by the way, doesn't have a good rate. That does not roll off the tongue at all. But they're trying to make this thing brain attack, and it's basically, it's a poorly conceived thing of women trying to, women rising up against what would have been patriarchy. It's not great today. It definitely wasn't great 100 years ago for women. But I just think you could have done that so much better. And if you are going to introduce that, then let's hear about it. Let's go down the route and see all the stuff that happens because of it. Like, that is the kind of stuff I was mentioning from the Joker. This is what it feels like. But we get that little tiny bit of that, but then we're just gone. We forget about it. We don't go back to that at all. That whole... their followers, or actually more likely it's her followers, really. But we don't go back to that at all. It's like, well, that's really underserving it then. If you want to really drill down on that, fuck the patriarchy and all that stuff, great. But don't just mention it and then just fuck off and talk about it, move on to something else. That there's a few different things like that where they introduce something interesting and then just don't follow it up.
Yeah, because I mean, I think the film, like, obviously, it very clearly wants to explore themes of female agency and like gender violence and what it was like to be a woman back in the 30s, and maybe that's parallels with kind of modern society, and like consent is in there a lot of times. But then there's lots of sequences where Jessie Buckley is in, or the bride is in, scenarios where she's kind of been sexually assaulted, and it's like 2 or 3 times, and then Frankenstein's monster, Christian Bale, comes to the rescue. And that's one of the things that I kind of get the messaging in certain parts, but then other parts are just kind of tacked on and not really explored more. And I don't know what I was expecting from the bride herself, but I was expecting this tour de force female protagonist performance when, you know, she's taking not so much the limelight, but she's taking center stage from Frankenstein himself. And that was kind of the beauty of the 1935 movie. And here it felt it was kind of stilted a little bit narratively anyway. It's just, I didn't really vibe with that too much. But let's talk about the cinematography. This is another plus. Production design is fucking stellar. I mean, there's some of the shots and the recreations of some of the establishing shots of Chicago and New York, especially at nighttime with all the cars and stuff like that. It just looks fantastic. Like in terms of the dance sequences, cinematography wise, I thought they looked excellent, but they are wildly and baffling sequences in themselves, in terms of logic and what's real and what's not. But
I think I'll definitely chat about that in the spoiler section, because I do have questions about that. But I did want to say that the like some of that dance sequence, I found some of it hard to follow, and I don't mean the kind of ballroomy kind of stuff. I mean, there's this really great like grimy kind of scene where they're, you know, it's like an underground kind of, I don't want to speak easy, but you know what I mean. It's like that, like whatever the version of an underground club is. In the 30s, and it's like that, but there's, you know, barrels of fire and all the rest of it. But it was kind of, she's supposed to be the focus of it, but it was almost the way that it was shot. It was almost kind of hard to follow a little bit. It was like, that's a bit of a bummer, because, you know, Frankenstein's kind of looking on at her as she's dancing around the place, and I would have liked to maybe been able to see a bit more of that scene. It just felt like a jumbled, you know, almost strobe light effect that we were going to get. And it was like, it felt to me like a little bit of a waste of what was actually really gorgeous, and the music was brilliant. And
absolutely. The editing in those dance sequences is like haphazard, and just, I don't know if it's supposed to be intentionally erratic, but it just kind of, it's a little, makes things kind of a bit incoherent. But also, like, most of the movie is framed from the cinematographer and Maggie Gyllenhaal's kind of singular vision. It really comes through a lot of the time, especially in the stair falling sequence that I thought was just excellent at the start. Yeah. Some of it's in the trailer. It's just fantastic. And there's a couple of nice one-shot sequences, you know, for like 30, 40 seconds, single shots. That was great. But some of those dance sequences, her idea of framing of the dance sequences, it just doesn't work. It's just incoherent, and that a lot of that was the frustrating, and that the balancing act of it being so lush and vibrant, and visuals have been fantastic, and then the frustrating aspect of some of these sequences, and just going, I know you're trying to do something visually here, but it's just not working. Just show me her fucking dancing, you know, and I can't see what's going on. That was really kind of baffling. But do you want to get on to final thoughts then before we get into some spoilers?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I was disappointed that it didn't live up to what I wanted it to be, but I'm not saying it's a bad movie, you know, to the point that there is this, it is gorgeous. I thought the music was great. I thought the performances were great. It's just, it doesn't know what it's trying to do. It, like I said at the start, it's pieces cobbled together, ideas that are, you know, just are brought up or formed, but never followed on with. So it's a bit of a shame that way. I think I'd probably go around 3, I think, or 2.5 to 3, I think, because I there was enough for like performance wise that I was like, but it was also a very frustrating watch, because this could have been fantastic. I'm glad it wasn't an absolute disaster. I'm just I think that's probably because the Oscars are coming up. I'm like, please, I don't want poor Jessie Buckley going in. I don't have to find an absolute shit show. Like fucking but I think 2.5. I think because it's kind of middle of the road for me. That there's too many cons to outweigh the pros, which are the performances and the cinematography. The screenplay is just it's not for me at all. Yeah. What about yourself?
I loved it. It's just a kind of an erratic hot mess for me. Like, there's There's a really compelling movie hiding in here somewhere, I think. But there's just so many ideas. It's just too much thrown at the wall here, and just like the central story and the central things that you're supposed to care about, the love story and the bride herself, that kind of gets completely lost. At times fascinating, at times extremely frustrating. Yeah, an overstuffed, messy, and deeply disappointing movie for me. So yeah, I was thinking it's not a 3-star movie, but it's not as bad as a 2-star movie. So yeah, 2.5 sits about right. You know, it's interesting at times, but yeah, it is very disappointing, which is disappointing in itself. So yeah, let's get stuck onto a few spoilers then. Any particular things tickled your fancy?
Well, I suppose it is the questions that I had. You know, the whatever about the effect that they have on the general population, that all of a sudden women are rising up and dressing up as her. That's where I was going. Yeah. You know, the whole Joker thing. But there's a dance sequence, right, when they go into this fancy schmancy place, and they basically pick up trays each and pretend like they're servers, and they're kind of looking across the room at each other and stuff. And when that thing breaks into the dance scene, I wasn't sure. Like, are they? I was at the start. I was like, are they not? Because everybody else is joining in with their mad dance, and it's a real
kind of
animal dance.
Well,
yeah, it's almost like marionettes, and they're doing kind of like dancing, like, you know, wild animals, like there's ape, monkey kind of dances, and all this kind of real, you know, primal kind of energy to it. And I was like, okay, well, I wonder if that's just what he's seeing in his head, because he's constantly fantasizing when he's thinking about what it'd be like to be on the screen, like the way Gyllenhaal's character is. But then when the detectives walk in, they see it's everybody it's dancing. So it's not just the two of them. Everybody else can see that it's the whole room dancing. So have they got some sort of mind control over these people, that they all just start dancing in sequence with them? And granted, that does happen in musicals, but that's not what this is. And that's why the detectives all look so perplexed. They're looking at each other like, why the fuck are these people dancing? So if they do have some sort of mind control, then how come they can't get out of all these other mix-ups that they get themselves caught in? If they can control other people, just dance your way out of it. Dance your cares away. You know, it's I just don't really see why they couldn't just do that.
That was the point where I was just thinking, you're adding another fucking layer to this, because in that sequence, Bale is sitting there and he sees Jessie Buckley and she's dancing away. But then when he looks at her, and as you're saying, when he's looking at the movies, he kind of fantasizes about seeing himself playing the role in the movies, and that's visualized. And here, when he looks up at Jessie Buckley, at one point you see her and she's in a different dress and a kind of a white kind of cool gown or whatever, and you're kind of going, he's kind of tripping out or whatever, he's just daydreaming. But then when they start dancing, it's just like, are they going to add another layer that this is a dream sequence, whatever? But when the cops come in, that's how you realize this is actually happening. You're just like, what the fuck is the point of this? This is another thing where somebody said, wouldn't it be cool if they got everyone and they had this power to, you know, fucking possess other fucking people and make them dance? Just like, it's just fucking stupid. There's so many parts that are so frustratingly stupid from that point of view. And I want to talk about the detective and the fact that Penelope Cruz saves the fucking day at the end of this. She's the secretary. His secretary, a wannabe detective, Peter Sarsgaard, as his crying explain-a-thon, gives her, like you say, I'm going to resign. He gives her his badge. And she, at the end of the final scene, when the bride is fucking murdered and she's lying there on top of Christian Bale, who's also dead, and Annette Bening, who we didn't really talk too much about. Annette Bening is brilliant. I love her, but she just pops into the movie again. And Penelope Cruz just goes up, gets into the scene, goes up to the top floor and just tells all the cops, stop shooting, get out of here. And wink at Annette Bening, like, take as long as you want, you know, to reanimate them again. And just like, how the fuck, how are the cops just like, who are there? They say what you're thinking. Just, who the fuck are you? And she holds up a badge. I'm a detective. It's just like, oh, fuck off. Like,
and that's like, she's chased him all across America, pretty much. She's chased him and her, because they've killed a bunch of people. And now she's like, oh, well, I didn't realize they're in love. So, and they're both dead. Why not reanimate them? And the thing is, the problem with that is just before that, the cops have all unloaded on her. Like, she gets hit by about 12 billion bullets. All the machinery and everything in the background is all smashed to fucking pieces. But yet the minute she gets the cops out of there, Penelope Cruz, Annette Bening just fucking, You see, she just walks over. Next thing, bam! You see the light going on. All of a sudden, their hands hold that they're back to life, and their electricity goes between them, and they hold hands. And then they go into the fucking song. I was like, please tell me this isn't what I think it is. When the music starts at the very end,
Monster Mash,
Monster Mash, because I could just know the start of it was like, that's not Monster Mash, is it? That's so cheesy. And then bang, it kicks in. Like, you're fucking kidding me. And but it was a bit of a sucky ending, which is a bummer and didn't really make any sense for any of the characters. Ending for any of our characters.
And the fact that their detective work essentially boils down to going, I think Frankenstein's monster really likes movies, so let's find. I think he's going this way, so let's just go to this theater, and he's there. Just like he's watching a movie. Just like, for fuck's sake, okay, he loves movies. But it's just ridiculous. But there's the bit where where they get pulled over by the cop on the side of the road. And it's a very uncomfortable scene where she's been kind of sexually assaulted outside the car. But Christian Bale is like, I'll hide with my little fucking hood up or whatever and just say I'm your uncle, I'm your sick uncle. And fair enough, that's a ploy to get out of the traffic stop. But when she's brought outside the car and pretty much sexually assaulted kind of 3 times with the cop telling her jokes and being a sleazy prick, Christian Bale's just sitting there looking at her because the scene has to happen. And then eventually, like fucking 7 minutes later, when the cop is sexually assaulting her for the 3rd time, then he shoots him and kills him. You're just like, are you just watching your wife who you adore just be assaulted by this cop while you have a fucking hand cannon in your hand? Just quite baffling.
Before we finish up on that part, that actor, I don't know the actor's name, but I feel bad for him because he looks like he's a creepy dude. I think I was playing the cop because he's in, I think, Penguin or something as well. I saw him in, and I'm just like, oh, that's unfortunate. Like, I don't think you're ever going to play a good guy. There's certain actors you're like, no, you're always going to be the bad guy.
Yeah. But one last note. I loved the curb stomp when he beats down those 2 guys, which is like, it's a nice moment because they're in the alleyway and the guys are trying to fucking grab her and they're just pushing Christian Bale and he doesn't do anything. They push him 3 or 4 times and you're kind of like, he's going to fucking unload. He just mashes some guy's head off a wall fucking 6 times and then
American History X style.
American History X just fucking and you see it close up, just mashes his head into the curb and just like, yes, please. And they're all so many lovely, cool moments of what could have been, I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But so 2.5 stars from both of us. The Bride, check it out in theaters if you can, because it's a lovely, lovely movie to look at. So that is a wrap for this week's episode, and we will be back next week with Project Hail Mary, which should be a good one. Yeah, bring it on. And in the meantime, thanks for subscribing, liking, sharing, and everything in between. And we will see you next week. See you later.
Bye-bye.